folks, how you doing? This video, I haven't made a video on this channel for you since what? Shit, 2014, huh? Anyway, that's probably one of the most important videos, ever to make for you guys. And I'm really excited about it. I know you'll be excited once you watch it. So, this video is entitled "When Women Are Most Beautiful." Now, women and us are programmed, conditioned, and indoctrinated to believe that women are the most beautiful from puberty up until about maximum age 30, 32. Nothing could be further from the truth. Now you just think about it. When is a female the most sexually active? When is she at her most sexual peak? When she wants to have sex the most? When she feels the most sexual? We know that it's when she gets about 32 up until about 45 to 48. So, but we're taught that when they get about that 32 age, that's when they start declining looks and they're not as useful in a sexually attractive sense as they were when they were younger. And that's because basically our system is ran by what's called the negative Illuminati. The negative Illuminati are what's called Sabbateans. And Sabbateans, their philosophy, their approach to life is what's called inversion. Now they have this bullshit philosophy about the more wrong they do, that will instigate the coming of a Messiah. Because the more wrong you do, it sets the stage that the Messiah has to show up to rescue us. It's all total nonsense. Okay? There's an old saying, you heard that saying that goes, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." That's a bullshit saying. What doesn't kill you, the really what it is what kills you kills you. See, and the negative Illuminatis, the Sabbateans, they moved all of their ancient religion into the big corporate arena. So that's why all of the companies and stuff have all these ancient symbols that are power symbols that can actually affect your perception of things, your genetics, your mind, your overall energy, because they're predatory symbols, and they're designed to they're designed to elicit a certain response or reaction inside of the human genome. Okay? So that's why they moved it all into that. They used to be wide out in the open, but they moved it into there. So you've got two Illuminatis. You've got the real Illuminati, which I'm a member of, and that's those are the people that are that came out of the Knights of St. John Hospitaller, or the Knights Templar, and then they basically all coalesced into the Sovereign Knights of Malta. The negative Illuminati, the Sabbateans, if you read Father Malachi Martin, the former Jesuit priest, and one of the last exorcists that ever lived, he wrote this book called Windswept House, which is a novel, but he said in an interview with Art Bell that if you just read between the lines, every single thing in Windswept House is true. And in that book, he outlined how the Satanists, so that would be your Sabbatean Illuminati, how they took over the Jesuits. The Jesuits are a secret arm of the Vatican. They're the military wing of the Vatican, like kind of like the CIA of the Vatican or whatever. And he said that the Sabbateans, the Satanists, took over the Jesuits, infiltrated the Vatican in that way. So now you got Pope Francis, who was a very positive human being, a very good person, and he's making the attempt to weed that situation out as we speak. He's been doing it since he's been the Pope. And the Pope before him was Cardinal Ratzinger. Cardinal Ratzinger, who became Pope Benedict, I think the 16th or whatever, he gets a bad rap just because of the way he looks. You know, he looks sinister, like, you know, Senator Palpatine from, you know, Star Wars and shit. So it's easy to disparage him, but that's a very good human being, very positive person, very good human being, very caring person, very loving person. There's nothing wrong with him whatsoever. He just, you know, he got caught up, you know, trying to protect a friend and some pedophile shit. And, you know, they don't fully understand, he didn't fully understand what the hell was really going on. And so he tried to protect the guy, and then it backfired on him. So he just abdicated being the Pope. And then Pope Francis became the Pope. So, back to the topic. So now, you think about this. As strong as, now the negative Illuminati, almost all of them, the majority of them, that's 9 out of 10 of them, behind the scenes are gay. And they don't present themselves that way, though. They present themselves as homogenous, nuclear family, you know, house, white picket fence, you know, 2 cars and a wife and a kid, you know, wholesome image people. But behind the scenes, they're completely different than that. They are predatory, they're pedophiles, they're rapists, they're they all manner of deception. Black magic is really what they're up to and what they use on everybody else, and they do that through, like I said, through their corporations, and then they get that off into the mind's eye of the general public through popular culture. So they infiltrated and took over popular culture. So they you know, the music industry, Hollywood, the movie industry. You know, the joke that David Chappelle tells in his latest Netflix special, The Closer. He tells that joke that you know, basically you know, he basically exposes the negative Illuminati for what they are. That they're pretenders. They're pretending to be something that they aren't. That's exactly how they operate. So they take over the entertainment industry, Hollywood. You know, like I said, he told that joke, which quantifies it pretty well. He called them space Jews. So anytime you associate NASA, space, UFO research, UFOs, blah blah blah. All the pedophile language is hidden in the UFO community. So people who are deep into the UFO shit, a lot of UFO stuff's legitimate, but a lot of it, it's just a cloak for the language that pedophiles understand. That's the people that run pedophile networks. They understand the language because it's coded language so that they understand it. So this is what the negative Illuminatis do. So their 5 basic presentations to our mind's eye at all time is rape, pedophilia, transsexualism, the integration of pornography themes in their everyday life, along with the dumbing down of the general world. So you'll hear people say stuff like that's pedo-ish, or you'll hear people say like that's rapey, you know, or something like that. And that's legitimate inclinations that they're picking up from the presentation that they're viewing, because that's exactly what the negative Illuminati's presentation is. Because the negative Illuminati want to have a world free, devoid of love and understanding. They don't want that. They want hatred, bigotry, separation, racism, anything that's negative, that's an inversion of what's right, because in their minds, in their twisted minds, because it's untrue, their perspective is untrue, that they will, by all this negative stuff, they'll bring in the coming of the Messiah. So they justify it, they rationalize it in their minds, because that's how they're brought up and trained by the ones in front of them. Okay? When all it is just negative is negative. Okay. Negative is not positive. Negative is not going to become positive. Negative is not going to turn into positive. Okay. So with women, women is their biggest resource is the stranglehold on the resources. What's the number one resource? Us. We're the number one resource. We're their battery source. And there are two main tools that they've agreed on using on us is fear and technology. So it's fear and technology. Okay. Which is why one of the reasons why they want to get the young entertainment stars, the young music industry stars. It's kind of where they hang their hat at. Although they do it in Hollywood too, but they hang their hat in the music industry because they're going to make music videos to go along with that too. And so the music that they make, it's always, right to this, like now, the stuff's all borderline rapey, borderline pedo-ish, borderline, physically assaulting to women, to men too. This is the type of stuff that they want because they are chaos magic experts, and that's what they're performing on us, chaos magic. And that one of their mores, one of their positions about this is that he who is the least confused has the advantage. So if they can confuse everybody else by twisting your mind this way, twisting it that way, twisting it this way, and twisting it that way, but then they really know what's going on, then you're at a severe disadvantage by ingesting their program and thinking you know what's going on, but you don't, and they do, and so the program is completely outlined all the way down, all the way, it's completely outlined. So it goes from point A to point B, and it's a completely already written program, outlined, and they know everything that's going to happen within the program. Now, every now and then, they get somebody that starts to, the program doesn't quite work on them all the way, or the program starts not to have its this desired effect on this person, and then that person will get ostracized or get made to look crazy, or like Britney Spears or Rose McGowan, or any of these kind of people that the program didn't quite work on, or like even Taylor Swift, how the program just didn't quite work on. There's something about that person that the program just didn't work. Precisely. See, and then so they have to maintenance that situation. But so one of the things that they do within their system is, and this is a big one, is they give us the impression that women are not as beautiful at a certain age. However, it's just completely asinine because they would like to be able to be a man and a woman at the same time. It's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? That's why they try to teach us everybody's essentially androgynous. That might have been true millions of years ago. Okay. Now the stories that they teach us about evolution, the history of the planet, all the stuff's untrue. Now they, believe it or not, do know the stories. They know how long the Earth's been around. And the Earth's been around for 6 billion years. They haven't been here that long, however. They've only been here since 242,000 BCE. So see, it's not their planet, see. It's a Zapotec planet. It's a Zapotec planet. Zapotec, Toltec, Olmec, Aztec planet. It's a Zapotec planet. And in South America, that's the origins of all civilization. South America, Mexico, and the Yucatan. They'll never tell you that. They'll never want you to know that. They'll never give you any inclination that that's the case, because that throws all their bullshit stories that they've been telling you from birth. It throws them out of whack. But it's just that simple. All civilization comes out of the Yucatan, Mexico, and South America. That's why the temple sites down there, that's why there's more of them, and that's why they're more complex. That's why Whitey can't figure them out, so Whitey don't talk about them. Like, for instance, the Olmec language, Whitey can't decipher it He'll lie and say he can't. You can look on the internet and you'll see Whitey say, "Oh, we finally deciphered the Olmec language," and he did not. He simply didn't. And he has no idea what the fucking Olmec language means. Cannot figure it out. And so he just discards it and doesn't talk about it, and pushes it to the side, act like it's nothing. Okay? When that's everything. So now the whiteys would like to be everything. They would like to be women and men at the same time. See? And they can't. So that frustrates them. So they have to pretend that they are. You know. If you were able to get to some of the higher echelons of the Sabbatean system, the ones that are way up at the top, you know, some of those people would be older than you think. They'd be a couple hundred years old, and then they would be androgynous, and then they would sit there and purport to you how they're, how they're so enlightened because they have they're a two-spirit person. You know, there's no fucking such thing as a two-spirit person. That's an androgyne or that is a hermaphrodite. That's total bullshit. Okay, it doesn't exist. All right, it's just some shit they made up and that they put into the curriculum on the planet, into the the foo-foo master's degree programs that some of these Ivy League and honorary Ivy League schools, and blah blah blah. They put all that shit in there, and so you got some disconnected white bitch that'll just go along with it and shit. She'll run around and start talking about it to her students, and then they'll form a curriculum around it, and they'll form some classes around it. The two-spirit person, it caught on. Total nonsense. What they're really talking about, what they're masking it is, they're talking about people that have two luminous shells, two luminous eggs, two luminous light shells. So we call them auras. They're just energy fields, and most people only have one. However, the people who are spiritual leaders, who are able to be, who generally become the best spiritual leaders on the planet. That doesn't have to be a preacher. It could just be a person that's a spiritual leader. Okay? That person could be in any profession on the planet. They could be a shoe cobbler. It could be a person that makes toothpicks. It doesn't matter. It's any person that, most of the people that become the best spiritual leaders have two auric fields. They have two energy fields. So like as an example, like with Taylor Swift, you always see her doing this. What she's really doing, whether she knows it or not, is she's expressing her own energy configuration. Because if you look at a person like that from behind, if you view it from a rear view, the two energy fields overlap a little bit, and they look like angel wings on the back of the person. So when you see all these representations of angel wings in the past associated with spiritual beings, what you're really looking at is a person that the angel wings simply represent the fact that the person has two auric fields, two energy fields. And from the rear view, it looks like angel wings. Okay. So, and those people are always, if they live the correct kind of life, those people are always the best candidates to be able to fly. People can actually fly. Okay. So, like Plato, there's more things than dreamt of on heaven and earth in your philosophy. You know what I mean? So now the energy that's the most important for them to subjugate, for them to quell, for them to control, for them to subdue, is the female energy, because there's no power without women. There's zero power without a human female. None. You cannot have it. And so by them harnessing the power of the human female, then that gives them energetic power. If they can subjugate that, see. Because they can control the input data, they can enslave it, control the input data to it. By controlling the input data to it, they can completely predict the outcome. If you can control the input data to a circuit, you can predict the outcome, power. You can predict the power outcome, and that's what women are. Women are the completion of the circuit. You can't complete the circuit of power without a human female, because women ground all thought pattern, which is the thought energy, into the etheric web of the planet and make it real. Excuse me. They bring it into being. So it makes it manifest. So, this is what I'm saying. The negative Illuminatis, they even got this thing now where they try to, what they do, they'll get guys to change their sex, and then they'll install. They have technology now where they can install a gestation womb inside of a human being, inside of a male, and then that person can carry the baby and actually give birth to the child. So they can either do it normally where they'll install a vagina, or they can do it where they just give them a C-section after a certain amount of time and just get the baby out. They've been doing that. Like, for instance, Michael Jackson, for instance, was gender fluid. Michael Jackson changed his sex back and forth multiple times. That's what the song meant. Man in the mirror. That's what it meant. I'm starting the man in the mirror. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. So through the looking glass. So now you got this, dynamic, magical situation, which is, an inversion, So through the looking glass, see. So I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to make a change. So see, that's what he's saying. He's saying that he's given into the pressure, the external pressure, that he's got all this electronic shit bombarding from the Illuminatis. Then they got him taking all these fucking crazy ass drugs and shit like that, that make him, feel like a woman and make him want to experience the complete physical change. So, but, that's artificial. And, they convince him, since you're Michael Jackson, since you're the king of pop, since you're so dynamic, if you do it, so many people out there yearning to do it. If you do it, it'll help other people's lives so much. It's all bullshit. You're born a male or you're born a female. It's just that fucking simple. You can go with all the labels you want, LGBTQ, blah, 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 whatever. You can go with all that stuff you want. That stuff's good for a political movement, so I'm not going to knock it, because it's just pop culture. There's only one thing within the LGBTQ community or movement that is a civil right, and that is marriage equality. All the rest of it is a human right issue. There's no doubt about it. You don't treat people any less than what they are, which is a human, no matter what they do. That's just, if they choose to do that with their body, that's up to them. See, but that's just pop culture. It has nothing to do with some divine bullshit or some, the two-spirit person. It's all crap. It has nothing to do with that. It's just pop culture. And it was the Nazis who were the ones in the death camps that discovered how to do en masse gender inversion. So they discovered how to do it quickly, rapidly, and then they also discovered how to implement it on a mass social scale. What things to put in place, what triggers to put in place, what programming sequences to put in place for the masses, and then the masses would follow suit, and they would en masse change their gender. And then it was that dude that creates confusion. Because have you ever had a conversation with a person or multiple people who are going through transition, taking those drugs and going through the gender inversion or gender conversion transition? These motherfuckers are fucking nuts. Okay? They're just flat out insane. I used to drive Uber, and I would get someone in my car. The shit they would say to me, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't say that shit to anybody, the stuff they would say to me. And then they weren't polite, they were unruly, they were not respectful. They were just, it was detestable the way they were acting. Shit. I'm telling you, I drove 7,500 Ubers, so I've had at least 100 of them type of motherfuckers in my car, because Houston is like little San Francisco. So I've had lots of experience in dealing with that projection, and I'm telling you, it's just, they're nuts and shit. So it's not homogenous. And Edgar Cayce even said it, that in the ancient world, what completely deteriorated the societies was when, and then in the ancient world, we had times when we were more technologically advanced than we are now. He said invariably, what would deteriorate the societies every time was when people started to do mass gender inversion or mass gender conversion, started to change the sex that they were born with. He said every time, that's what fucked it up. So, so back to the point. So women, now you think about this. So if women's peak sexually is between 32 to 48, and the universe is female, which is for sure, and the earth is female, which is for sure, do you think the earth and the universe are that stupid that they're going to make a woman's sexual peak be at this particular age, but then that's when she's the least attractive? That follows zero logic whatsoever. Absolutely incorrect. What it's going to do is make it women are the most physically attractive between the ages of 32 to 48. So now if you go to study Rudolf Steiner, who was the greatest educator that ever lived, and Edgar Cayce was asked, if you were to equate a person as close as possible to Jesus Christ that we've seen as a teacher on this planet in the last, say, 100 years or so, or whatever, who would you say it is? And he said Rudolf Steiner. So, Rudolf Steiner was, without a doubt, the greatest educator, no doubt, because he's the Waldorf school. To go to Germany, that's why those people are smartest. That's why Germany's the best country in the world to live in. Get 3-day work weeks, 4-day work weeks, 28 hours a week, make full salary. You get six weeks off, six weeks off a year for just to be off, do whatever you want to do. Sometimes it's 2 months. They don't overwork people, they don't stress them out. That's all because of those people have been inundated with the vibration of Waldorf education. See, Austria and Germany, that's why those people are the most, I mean, you look at the Chancellor of Austria, you look at that motherfucker. That's a smooth motherfucker, you know what I mean? But then somebody you want to, like to pick that motherfucker's brain, he looks so smooth and shit, you know what I'm saying? Angela Merkel, and there's no doubt that Angela Merkel is, without a doubt, 100% the best, political leader on the planet. Shit, you know what I'm saying? Period. And so the female energy, they're going to make the energy of the planet is going to make women look the best when they're at their sexual peak. That's just the logic of the situation. You're not going to be like, you're at your sexual peak at 32, but that's when you start to decline the way you look. See, and Rudolf Steiner said that a human organism is not even mature at all until it's 28 years old. So just go by that. Let's double that. That's 56. That means that between the ages of 28 to 56, that's when women are going to be the most beautiful. And it doesn't necessarily the most attractive. Because after that, they kind of go to, menopause and blah, blah, blah. But then we're taught to believe that, they don't look as good anymore, blah, blah, blah. But, if you look at a lot of these women, like Helen Mirren, Gail and Oprah, Jennifer Aniston, Meryl Streep, a lot of these women, they're 60s, 5s, 70, and they're still fucking knocked down, drag out, beautiful. See? Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda's in her 70s, mid-70s and shit, and she's a fucking knockout. See what I'm saying? Right now. But, it's because they refuse to believe that bullshit. Because it is bullshit. See? There's just no way. It's just the negative Illuminatis. They, like I said, they take everything that's correct, that's right, and then they invert it. And their excuse is, they're the shepherds of us, and they're going to bring the Messiah. They're going to bring in the saviors of us, when they're not going to bring any fucking things positive. It's just all greed. It's just all barbarism. It's negative. Now they do have some things in there called good workers, and what that means is that they're doing so much negative shit until they have this tenet where they say we have to do some good things to offset the negative things that we're doing. That's true. So you won't always see them doing stuff that's 100% negative. You'll see them doing some things that's above board, obviously positive things, but that's only to offset the negative shit they're doing that you don't see, or that you don't know about, because they know about it and they keep all the interpretations for the shit to themselves. Like, as an example, if you ever read Da Vinci Code, as an example, you read about the grotto ritual, and you kind of always wonder what really was the grotto ritual all about. The grotto ritual was a consummation of it's an example of when you have an enlightened being that is hermaphroditic, and one of them will have the vagina on top and the penis down below, and the other one will have the penis on top and the vagina down below. And they can insert simultaneously their sexual organs into each other, and then they can simultaneously get each other pregnant. That's legitimate. That's some legit shit. So what? That could happen. Absolutely. It would be very, very rare, but it is something that is considered to be dynamic. It's considered to be positive. It's considered to be unique. It's considered to be an amazing display of real, true energy and power, and as well as an integration of the two energies of male and female that do something completely positive as a result. There's no doubt about that. But that's not some shit that you want to be running around trying to instigate, because that's just going to happen naturally, and it's just going to occur. And at some point, it's just going to occur naturally. It's not nothing you're going to instigate. When it happens, it happens. Could you track when it's going to happen? No. No, you couldn't. When it happens, it just takes place. You don't know. It could be now. It could be a million years from now. It could be tomorrow. It could be next week. It's nothing you can predict. Nothing. So, so them saying they can predict the advent of the Messiah, blah blah blah. This is what you're getting at. The tetragrammaton, the Adam Catmon, the divine hermaphrodite. That's what they're getting at. That's what they're trying to instigate. That's what they claim they're trying to instigate. There's not anything they can predict. They can never predict it. So it's just total nonsense. It's going to happen. It's going to always happen, periodically. But so you can't predict it by procession. You can't predict it by anything. It's just going to happen sometime. When it does, it'll be obvious, and the progeny from those beings will be amazing, and they will impact the planet in a positive way. Just that simple. But some things you can't not put your finger on. There's everything does not fall under the rubric of a format. And that's just one of those things. Period. So every now and then that happens, and if you're fortunate enough to be born, and you're an enlightened person, and you're attached to those people, and you're a part and parcel to what happens. That's fantastic. It's wonderful, but it's completely random, completely random. And so So they try to, regulate it all into a format. So since they know about the precession of the equinoxes, since they know that certain beings will be born, will incarnate at the beginning of each precession, which is the golden race, they know that. They won't tell you about the golden race because they're scared of the golden race, and they're scared of you find out about the golden race because they cannot control the golden race. They cannot control the golden race people. And what happens is the golden race takes over. So and they'll try to hide behind it, like they always do, because the golden rule is the golden race rule, and they cannot rule the golden race. They generally tend towards being white, not even Caucasian. Caucasus Asian means Caucasian. Caucasus Asian means Caucasian. So, but not, they're just white bread, white. They're what came to be the white supremacists, and that's basically what they are. They run the planet right now, but they won't be very soon, and they know it. And so they're so myopic and angry on the inside, underneath it all, until they just want to wreak as much havoc as they can, to be as disruptive as they possibly can before they're not in control anymore. And we're right in the middle of that right now, where they're not going to be in control. White supremacy is done, it's finished, and the human female did it. And how did human female do that? The human female energy is so dynamic that men can only hear up to about 16 kilohertz, 18 kilohertz max. Women can hear up to 24 kilohertz. Most of them, max, most of them 22 kilohertz. Most of them 22 kilohertz, some up to 24 kilohertz. That means that women are operating at a frequency. Now we can only hear the auditory range for humans is 20 to 20 kilohertz. So Whitey would never believe that a woman can hear up to 24 kilohertz because Whitey knows opposite. But what this has done is creates a situation where women are operating in an auditory spectrum 6 kilohertz above the human male. And they can actually discern, whether it's consciously or it's unconsciously or subconsciously, women are able to discern. And so it's women that have quelled white supremacy. And what they've done is they've taken their auditory spectrum and their communication spectrum, and they created a dialogue within that 6 kilohertz of spectrum, where they are castrating the white male. They're castrating the white supremacist white male at all times. But they're giving him a chance. They're teaching him he's fucked up. They're teaching him he has no chance with them. They're teaching him he can be as frustrated as he wants about it. He can keep being a serial killer, keep being a pedophile, keep being a mass murderer all he wants. It doesn't matter because he's not going to flourish. And so they're giving him a chance. They're saying, look, if you want to listen to what we're saying, and you want to adopt what we're saying and go along with it, we're willing to be, unlike you, we're willing to be forgiving, and we're willing to work it out with you. But if you don't want to, if you want to stay angry and try to control us and stuff like that, then you're just going to simply go by the wayside, and you're not going to have no power. You're going to be completely castrated, and you're going to you're just going to fade out into the sunset. That's what they're telling him. Because the story they're telling him within that 6 kilohertz, they're telling him the story of the black dick. They're telling him the story of how there's a dialogue that they're saying at all times to him. They're telling him that there was a black guy. He was powerful. He was black. It was big. It hurt. All kind of other stuff that I don't really want to say, but it's not a very nice story to a white male who is a white supremacist, who is used to, the white man persevering, prevailing, and usurping and dominating everything. It's a terrible story to him because it's a story of his castration and therefore his destruction, without firing a single shot. See, the women defeated him without firing a single fucking shot. So see, white supremacy has no chance whatsoever. None. Zilch. To survive. It's finished. It's over. It's done. Because the reason why is because the white male cannot, he can't decipher it. He can feel it. He knows that she's saying this stuff to him, but he can't actually decipher it. His insides know, his instincts tell him, his predatory instincts tell him that he's being exposed for what he is, and that he's going to be denied his food source, which agitates the fuck out of him. But he has no way to counteract it because he cannot actually discern the particulars of the dialogue. He can't articulate it. He can only feel it. See, and that's what frustrates him. Now, he gets all upset. Like Brexit, for instance, in the UK. The white man was, so all the immigrants came, and they got black dicks, and also the white man would go out. The white man's used to going to the bar at night, 2 o'clock. The bar gets out, and he's used to being able to choose whether or not he's going to sleep with one of his buddies, who's a guy, or where he's going to get him a woman. Okay, that all went by the wayside with the immigrants, because women really, honestly, don't really like feminized men for sex. They don't really like homosexual males for sex. Not really. It might be something that the Illuminati try to get them to buy into, but women really don't. They just really don't like it. And so they want a male that just likes women for sex. So they would go to the bars, they would get out, then they'd be like, oh, I'm going to have a woman tonight. But then none of the women would want to go out with them. None of the women would want to go home with them because all the women were vying for or competing for the black dick immigrants that were in the bar. Oh, I hope he chooses me. I hope I can entice him to choose me. I hope I can entice him to pick me out and take me home, blah, blah, blah. Because they wanted the black dick. Because those guys were not closet homo. And women can see that. And so, so what the white man started doing was trying to gang up on the immigrants. Like, oh, well, we'll just beat the immigrants' ass, after the bar is drunk and shit. And the immigrants would invariably, 9.5 times out of 10, just knock the fucking white dude out. As well as the white guys would then try to gang up on them 2 or 3. And that wasn't working out real well because the immigrants would still knock the motherfuckers out, 2 or 3 of them at the same time. So see, so they run around trying to be men, and then they default to being white men, which is ganging up on niggas when they can't, subdue them one-on-one. And it didn't work. So now they're like, oh, let's do Brexit and let's lie and say it's because of economics and it's because of this and because of that. When really Brexit was just motivated simply by the fact that the white man couldn't get no women at the club at the end of the bar at night. And so that made it become obvious that they're fags. See, because they could be like, oh, I'm a switch hitter, or nobody knows that sleep with dudes, or so I can fake that because I got this woman, blah blah blah, I got all this money, this nice house in the Cotswolds, and blah blah blah. I look like a G, I got a player, but really it's the fag. But it became obvious at that point that they're fags, as well as that pedophile shit started coming out. Started becoming obvious that a lot of them are pedophiles. They're being exposed for what they are. See, so they want to do Brexit, and they were only able to do Brexit because of the largest oil deposit